Welcome back to another episode of the Geek Den, Killing Hammers. It's your boy Jaden, joined today by Lil K and Jay-Z. Say hello, guys.
Sup?
How's it going?
So today we're going to be doing an Endgame review, and if you haven't seen the movie yet, kind of sucks because it's been out for 3 weeks, but we're just going to jump right into it. All right, here we go. All right, guys, so we're going to be talking, so the critics have finally decided. My boy Jay-Z over here is going to talk about Rotten Tomatoes, so hit it, Jay.
All right, Jaden. Well, from Rotten Tomatoes, we got an overall score of 95% on the tomato meter, which is pretty outstanding. The audience score got 89%, and looking pretty good with the reviews. We got 414 fresh critic reviews, which is considered pretty good. 32 bad rotten reviews. Who cares about those? Because the movie was pretty good, but
yeah, those people are dumb.
Yeah. So from the London Evening Standard, they said that the only complaint about Avengers Endgame is that it raises the bar so high that there may never well be a superhero movie to match it. I can kind of agree with that. It's pretty outstanding.
Is that a bad thing, though, to have a movie that's that good?
I feel like it creates a sort of, confrontation, Everybody's going to try to outdo it, and it can really only go up from here. Like, we have outstanding filmmakers like Steven Spielberg, the Russo brothers, I feel like we're in good hands.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they thought that was true of the Star Wars movie. They never thought that there could be anything better than that, and here we are with better technology and better computers and stuff that can create these amazing movies that no one's ever seen anything like before.
Yeah, and much like when the movie Avatar came out, nobody thought they were ever gonna beat them. Right now, they have the highest grossing film with $2.8 billion, and as of Sunday, Avengers Endgame is at $2.5 billion in its third weekend, so it could be the movie to top, and we'll see what comes after that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a seriously good chance. Everybody that I've talked to has seen it at least 3 times. I have a lot of friends who are going for like a 4th and 5th time.
It just takes that long to soak in all the information you're given in that 3-hour movie.
Exactly. It seems like the 3-hour time span just isn't enough. Like, we need more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so
I
back.
definitely went into the movie thinking that 3 hours, they better be able to pull it off. I don't want to feel bored during the movie, but it felt like it went too fast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I walk out of the theater and it's pitch black, and I'm like,
what the heck just happened?
Yeah, it did not feel like 3 hours.
All right, we got some more comments from the Wall Street Journal saying that they succeeded at its daunting task, summing up an epic struggle with a bedazzling action, and more with humor, zest, and feeling. The real heartfelt stuff than you dare expect from what it is, after all, an immense industrial undertaking.
That's a huge accomplishment, especially seeing as how so many people read the Wall Street Journal and how it's such an influential magazine. That's a really good review, actually.
Yeah, okay, so moving on to the Metacritic, another big review site. They gave Avengers Endgame an overall score of 76 based on the opinions of 56 esteemed critics like The Washington Post, The Guardian, and Slant Magazine. The Washington Post, first of all, kind of summed up like the closure of the movie and a quote from their review was, "After 11 long years, the Infinity Saga is finally fulfillingly over." So they kind of said that, and many other of the critics said that this movie was kind of closure for the deaths of so many of our
Yeah,
loved.
I know. I for sure was happy with that because I went into here and there were so many storylines. I was wondering how they were going to tie them all up, but they did a very nice job with that.
I love, one of my favorite things was how in 2008, obviously, we had the first Iron Man. He was the one who started it all. And then fast forward to 2019, and we have Iron Man ending it all, which for me was just fulfilling, as the Washington Post suggested.
One of the negative kind of reviews that I found on Metacritic was by Slant Magazine, and a quote from them was that every serious narrative beat is ultimately undercut by pro forma storytelling, which the emotional beats never linger as the character is always racing to the next big plot point. So do you think that there wasn't enough time to slow down maybe and kind of appreciate the events as they happen, or do we think that they made the movie well?
All right, I think that's a really good point. The plot, even with the 3-hour runtime, was kind of always
Jam-packed.
racing.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think that it was well done, but there could have been some times where they could have slowed it down a little. Natasha's sacrifice for the Soul Stone, that could have been like, I feel like that could have been handled with a little bit more time. Instead, it was just kind of glossed over in a 10-minute scene. I think that could have been more prominent in the story.
They didn't even give her a funeral or anything, did they? They just kind of mourned her for a few minutes and then was like, okay, guys, let's move on.
They just returned from the pool and they were all sad, and that's it.
Yeah. She was just forgotten, and she's been a huge part of the whole entire saga. I didn't understand
and
why
she was the one
they
holding them together in the beginning of the movie when all of them seemed to spread apart from each other, and she was there trying to get them all back together.
Yeah, I was definitely disappointed with that.
So we definitely understand where Slant Magazine came from. I feel like that was probably one of the biggest like complaints that anyone had with the movie. But yeah, that's not a bad review at all.
Yeah. So Jaden, what did IMDb have to say?
Okay, so IMDb had an overall score of 8.9 out of 10, based on the votes of 342,096 users. There's a bunch of averages. Males averaged about an 8.8, and the females averaged a 9.0. So for the most part, average-wise at least, the females liked the movie better than the males, which...
That's interesting to me.
Yeah, I find that a little bit surprising too, because most girls aren't like really into like superhero movies, you know?
Yeah.
But I feel like that's a good thing. It's like really diversifying, I guess.
It appeals to all the audiences instead of just the men.
Exactly. And I feel like with that scene where all the women gathered and just were being total badasses, I think that was a huge reason of why it got an approval rating so high from the females. They're starting to diversify more. Let's see. So Shark by Audio Productions, which is another critic site, they said overall an epic conclusion, but inferior to Infinity War's pace and energy. I feel. What do you think about that, Jay?
Well, I agree with that. I feel like Infinity War, when that came out, it was like so hyped up and it was so action packed because none of us really knew what was going to happen, and especially at the end with the snap when it wiped out half the universe, the whole movie was just very intense trying to gather all the stones. I feel like this one we kind of knew what was going to happen. We kind of went into this knowing like, oh, they're probably going to fix, this is the last one. It's a superhero movie. They always win. So I guess to some part it wasn't as action-packed, but nonetheless still very exciting to watch.
I think that the pace was a little bit faster than Infinity War, and that kind of gave it like a negative review. But I feel like in terms of energy, I mean, literally in the first 10 minutes, you start off with Thor cutting off Thanos' head, and that, to me, in the entire theater was a shock. Like, you could hear a pin drop after that happened. But then the story kind of slowed down for a little bit, jumped 5 years ahead, and then started to pick up gradually. I think that the energy was there the entire time. Like, the question of what's going to happen now, where do we go from here, how do we fix this kind of thing. I thought that was a pretty well done.
Recently, I was able to interview Noe Kuba and ask him what his thoughts on the movie were, and he said that he was satisfied with how they wrapped up the saga. He was not disappointed with how they ended it all. He said he's seen so many trilogies and sagas that ended horribly, and he wanted this to be wrapped up nice and neat, and it met his expectations, bringing closure to each of the characters' storylines. And I very well agree with this. I thought the movie was very well done. I went into it concerned if it was going to be a meaningful 3 hours, but I was more than impressed because it seemed to pass by so quickly and captured my attention every second. And my favorite scene was definitely the final battle. Even though we were able to make a good opinion when we went into this knowing that they were going to win the battle, there was so much about it that you just couldn't predict, especially when Captain America was able to pick up Thor's hammer in the end. I know my theater was going crazy. One kid threw his popcorn across the theater, which was probably overkill, but nonetheless, it was very exciting to watch that happen.
I totally agree with John on this one. It was just perfect. It was alluded to in Avengers Age of Ultron when everyone was gathered around a table trying to pick up Mjolnir, and Cap made it budge a little bit. But, I mean, it was also able to stand up in a movie packed to the rim with standout moments. My other favorite scene had to have been when Thanos had just broken Cap's shield, and he's just tightened the straps of his broken shield, hoisted Mjolnir, and was ready to fight. And then you hear static, and you hear Sam's voice go, Cap, on your left. And that I got goosebumps from that. Everybody in the theater went dead quiet. And then you see Doctor Strange's portals open, and out came all the dead heroes, including the fan favorite Spider-Man. And I knew as soon as Tom Holland stepped on screen, everybody in my audience went ballistic. Like, they were just throwing popcorn, cheering, clapping. It was a really amazing moment that I was glad I was able to be a part of.
Yeah, I mean, I agree completely, but let me play devil's advocate here for a minute. One of the biggest criticisms of this movie was that a lot of people argued that the movie was less than expected because it was pretty much impossible for someone to understand that hasn't seen the other movies. So what do you guys think about that?
I mean, I kind of agree with that because I feel like, especially going into the Infinity War, if you didn't know anything about the stones or the backgrounds of the characters or what was really going on, I feel like you would have been kind of lost. But I feel like this movie was a lot separate from Infinity War. Like, you didn't necessarily have to know what was going on because they kind of threw you in there, but like let you know what was going on. Like, you were very well prepared knowing what was going on throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't think it's reasonable to expect the last chapter of any story to explain all the previous chapters just so the reader can understand what's going on. So this isn't really any different. It's all about the journey of getting to the end. This movie was pretty much made for those of us that have been there following the saga since 2008, and we weren't disappointed at all. So I don't think that's a fair assessment.
Okay. All right, boys and girls, that's about all the time we have today. Big shout out to Lil Kate and Jay-Z. Remember to like and subscribe and hit that bell in the corner to get notified of our latest videos.